G'day there, this is Holy Critic, back with you again. And today I wanted to share a couple of clips with you regarding a man I highly revere, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who, if you don't know, is a Canadian psychologist who I would describe as a man who makes sense for a living. Because for years, the media has attacked men, specifically men, and masculinity. And Dr. Jordan Peterson has shown many disenfranchised young men, I'm not one of them, but he's shown me the value of living a regimented, spiritually fulfilling life. Essentially, he's a breath of fresh air. But about a year and a half ago, Jordan completely disappeared from the scene. He was doing, before that he was doing a podcast with Joe Rogan. He was appearing with Dr. Oz. He was all over the place, and then, like that, he disappeared. And there was lots of rumors about, what had actually happened to him. But recently, he's finally surfaced to do an interview with his daughter, Michaela. And what he shares in that interview is a pretty harrowing journey from hell and back regarding his experiences with benzodiazepines, which are SSRI antidepressants. Prescription, of course, but it just completely ruined his life. It derailed him, and it's a miracle that he's still alive. So without further ado, I'll just show you the clips so you get an idea of just what he went through.
See, there are things about the benzodiazepines too that I didn't really understand until I began to decrease their use. I had become quite isolated from my family members.
Yeah.
It was most noticeable, I would say, in my relationship with my son. But it was like there was a barrier up between me and people.
It was noticeable.
I attributed that to the strange twists and turns my life had taken in the previous 2 or 3 years, because there was no shortage of strangeness on that front. And then also I had a strange muscle weakness that plagued me, and I now realize in retrospect that was all a consequence of benzodiazepine use. So using it, well, this is part of the reason we're doing this podcast or video as well, to let people know these are very widely prescribed drugs, and they are not safe to take for more than 2 weeks or a month at the absolute maximum. And if you take them longer than that and you end up addicted, or dependent, which means that you'll suffer withdrawal symptoms on their cessation, you are going to be one sorry person. Some people, have a better time of it when they stop their use than others. But enough people have a terrible time so that it's a medically induced epidemic. It's a complete bloody catastrophe.
Yeah.
It's probably worse than the opiate epidemic, and that's really saying something.
Well, that's a pretty profound statement at the end there, but just to provide a bit of context, because this interview went for about an hour, he started taking prescription benzodiazepines during a very stressful phase of his life, when his wife was diagnosed with what they thought at the time was terminal cancer. And obviously that burden is one that no man should have to put himself through. So he went to a psychiatrist, got prescribed these drugs, thinking that it would get him through this tough phase. But instead it's put him on a course to hell, which you can see here. He's looking quite gaunt and certainly fatigued. So he's, even a year on, post recovery, he's still a shadow of his former self. It we'll just watch one more little clip just to wrap up this video, because it shows how emotionally drained he has become from this ordeal. So we'll just continue here.
Well, it's quite shocking to me, actually, that I didn't know, despite my professional specialty, that I had no idea how catastrophic benzodiazepine use could be. Anyway,
well, psychologists aren't psychiatrists. Psychiatrists prescribe medications. Psychologists counsel, right?
Right, but it's still useful to keep up on the relevant literature.
Oh, now you know.
Yes, well, now I definitely, I don't think I'll forget that. Yeah. Yes. So, it's funny, maybe we'll stop with this. Once I started to decrease my use of benzodiazepines, I was never tempted to go back up, except right at the beginning when I went to zero and had to.
Well, you were going to have a seizure.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
I couldn't even communicate with you.
But I thought after I got out of the Russian hospital that even if someone put a gun to my head and said, take this, I wouldn't.
Well,
I really think that for me, it's no overstatement to say that for me, the consequence of benzodiazepine withdrawal were worse than death. So,
yes, that's what it looked like from the outside.
Yes, well, you don't want to say something.
Well, I don't think I'll ever be taking them again. Well, I've never taken them in the first place, but wow, worse than death. Tell me in the comments below what your experiences have been. I've had my times in life where I thought I may need intervention, but I think it's better to just cop it on the chin and face your problems head on, because by masking them with antidepressants, it only relegates it to a far greater degree just down the road.
Something like that lightly, but there were lots of times, plenty of times, when it would have been preferable, as far as I could tell, just not to be there than to experience what I was experiencing.
When you're in pain.
So instead of a drug performing the task of healing your psychology, actually it exacerbates it tenfold and increases your risk of suicide. Jordan just admitted it then. He almost wished he wasn't there anymore. Wow. That's torture, man.
People who are being at a certain level of pain is like that. Right?
Yes.
If you're walking around, anything over really like a 7 or an 8, you can't stand it.
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like from the outside.
Well, the other thing that the benzodiazepine withdrawal did that was absolutely dreadful was produce a sense of time distortion. So this was really obvious when I first woke up in Russia. Like, the first day that you and I could speak again, you were wheeling me around in the aisle of the corridor of the intensive care unit. I was going to be wheeled around until it was time to eat. And I must have asked you how many times in 10 minutes what time it was.
Probably every 45 seconds.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
And that's because for me, it felt like, a substantial amount of time had passed, an hour or 2 hours, something like that, some terrible amount of time. And so not only was I in pain and experiencing extremely high levels of anxiety, the duration of time had extended so that it was really unbearable. It was like the days were just lasting forever. And that actually disappeared quite a bit as the akathisia disappeared. And it isn't the case now, thank God, but it was brutal. It's funny, even now, because it's somewhat stressful to have this conversation, I can feel if I lift up my eyebrows a bit, like you might when you're interested in something. I can feel the tremors in my forehead, and that's partly stress-induced. So we should probably stop talking.
Yeah, okay. we can call it a day.
Yes. Well, it was good to be able to sit here and have this conversation.
We're going to go eat a steak.
That's the theory.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with me.
Well, thanks for being here. It's been a hell of a year.
Thanks for your help, too.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to give up. And now we're in Belgrade and seem to have found an answer. Thank God.
That was heavy. Whew. You can really see it. He's earnest. No man should have to go through that. And you're not looking at a man here who's some junkie who's doing it for some high. He was just taking what a doctor prescribed to him innocuously, thinking it was going to help him. But the longer he stayed on it, the worse his life became. And what you're seeing here is happening every day in America. We hear about it with the opioid crisis, but what Jordan is explaining here with his experiences is that not only do you get the dependency, the psychological dependency on the drug, but it also exhibits itself in physical ways. You get sort of a catatonic state where time's freezing up on you, and you got this delirium, this waking sleep. I couldn't think of anything more terrifying than that. It's like having dementia. You're losing your mind. You don't know who you are anymore, and even your family becomes strangers to you. If that what you've just witnessed then isn't a warning, I don't know what is. Take caution out there, guys, with what you put inside your body, psychoactive or not, because it could just be the last thing you ever do. I think I'll end it there. Thanks for watching today's video. Please like if you enjoyed it, or subscribe if you haven't done so already. I pinned a comment below of the full 1 hour interview on Michaela Peterson's YouTube channel, so I implore you to check out the full thing to get the full context that I haven't been able to provide you. But either way, have a good day, and this is Holy Critic signing out.